The Fort Erie Podcast with Brent Jones. Brent Jones starts now.
Hey, it's Brent Jones. Welcome to the Fort Erie Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Father's Day is coming up this Sunday, and I have an article pulled up in front of me. Now, I have one pulled up on BuzzFeed. It's called 21 Father's Day Gifts for the Dad Who Has Impeccable Taste. And if you Google this, if you Google gift ideas for Father's Day 2023, you will find thousands of articles just like this one. The one I've got pulled up on BuzzFeed is terrible. All the other ones I've seen are terrible too. They're terrible. These Father's Day gift guides, I don't know who's writing these, but whoever's writing them is giving you terrible advice. I'm going to go through some of the examples here in this article and let you know if you buy some of the gifts here that they're recommending for your dad this Father's Day, you're basically going to turn Father's Day into a day like every other. In other words, you're going to be a huge disappointment to your father. Okay? I'm kidding, sort of. But let's get into this. Here's some of the gift ideas they're recommending. It says, here's one. I'm not going to go through all 21, obviously. There's too many, but I saw this one here. A set of Bowflex adjustable weights for the dad who has an hour break during the day to get in his workout. Now, look, I get there's a lot of deadbeat dads out there. I'm not trying to take away from that, but most of us who are involved with our kids, an hour break? Who's got an hour break during the day? And who's going to spend that hour break getting their workout in with these Bowflex adjustable weights? I carry enough heavy stuff in the form of a toddler already. That's a silly gift idea. Then we've got the waterproof Manscaped beard hedge trimmer. Okay, maybe they have a beard trimmer now, but isn't that the company that makes the trimmer for your nether regions? Isn't that what they do for, trim up the boys? Isn't that what Manscaped, isn't that what that term means? I would be mortified if I got this as a gift from my daughter. There's one on here, a Coop Eden pillow for the dad who values a luxurious night's sleep every night. Most of the tired dads out there, it's not the pillow that's holding them back from getting a luxurious night of sleep. There is, and maybe this article was written by a woman, I don't know, but there's one on here, a super plush Brooklinen robe for the dad who wants to feel like he's at the spa every day. I don't know any dads who want to feel like they're at the spa every day, first and foremost. But secondly, I'm pretty darn sure this robe did not come from the men's department. I'm almost positive just by looking at it. Here's actually one good recommendation on this list, a pair of noise-canceling Skull Candy headphones for the dad who deserves to tune everyone out once in a while. That might not be a bad gift. This one just made me laugh. A high-end LAFCO diffuser for your dad's office or work area. It's one of those, the reed diffusers where you can kind of diffuse, I don't know, incense or whatever. I've never seen this in somebody's office. Most workplaces have a no sense policy. These gift guides are awful. I'm going to give you the only gift guide you need. Okay. If you still haven't figured out what to get dad this Sunday, here's a short list of things you can get that are not expensive, in some cases cost nothing at all, and that your dad will truly appreciate. Okay. First and foremost, get him some beer. Get him a case of beer. You're saying, well, what kind of beer? It doesn't matter what kind of beer. As long as it's cold, he doesn't care. A case of beer is always a great gift. Make him his favorite meal. If he likes having breakfast for dinner, make him breakfast for dinner. He will love it. Don't give him any tasks to do. No jobs this Sunday, okay? If the lawn is getting a little long and disheveled, don't say a word to him about it, okay? Give him the day off. Let him sleep in. Those are some real simple things you can do to make Father's Day special. Do not buy him a diffuser for his office. That is an awful idea. Do you agree or disagree? Do you have any Father's Day stories or recommendations? Call the Byrd Box, 289-599-2973. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to be getting to your Byrd Box calls. We're going to hear what's on your mind, Fort Erie. Les Lakewood from Little Red Coffee is going to be joining me for a chat. We're going to be going through some community events and some other fun stuff. But first, let's talk about a few things making news in our town.
News on the Fort Erie Podcast.
Well, there's nothing especially exciting about this first story I'm going to share, except that the accused was caught. A 54-year-old man from Fort Erie has been arrested in connection with a year-long child pornography investigation. Niagara Regional Police began their investigation 1 year ago in June of 2022. To make a long story short, this particular individual was added to Niagara's wanted list on May 24th. Police received a tip right at the end of May that ended up leading to this man's arrest here in Fort Erie. robbery at what the article describes as an East Side address. There was another man present at that address, and Niagara Regional Police seem to believe that this other individual may have been aiding the perpetrator's effort to avoid arrest. That person has also been charged with accessory after the fact to commit an indictable offense. Awful story. Child pornography, never a fun thing to talk about. Always positive, though, when those responsible are caught, are brought to justice. Hopefully, justice will be served. I assume both of these men are awaiting a court date at the moment. Now, the other big story, and you've probably already heard this, is that the urgent care center at Douglas Memorial Hospital, effective July 5th, will be closed overnight. July 5th, the new hours are 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. It's the same story for the hospital in Port Colborne. Niagara Health has made the decision to shorten the open hours, let's say, for both of the urgent care centers in the region. So I don't know what to tell you, Fort Erie. I guess don't get sick, don't get injured after 10 o'clock. If you do, I don't know, jump on your bike or your skateboard and hopefully make it to St. Catharines before you collapse. I don't know. A couple episodes ago, we were talking about that local referendum, to keep our hospital open. And I know I sounded a little jaded at the time because something like 11,000 plus people came out and voted. We want to keep our hospital. I think I might have even called it a glorified petition at the time, because that's basically what it was. A whole bunch of people came out, showed their support for our local hospital. And what I said was, Niagara Health is going to do whatever they want to do anyway. And of course, lo and behold, May 31st, I think it was May 31st, right at the end of May, the decision comes out just 4 days after this public referendum. Yep, we're shutting down the services at your urgent care centers. So I don't know what the next step is from here. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do want to make sure you're aware, effective July 5th, our urgent care center will be closed overnight. So it might not be a bad time to start thinking ahead about, what would you actually do in the event of an emergency?
It's Fort Erie's answering machine, the Byrd Box.
Welcome to the Byrd Box. It's the answering machine for the Fort Erie podcast. You can call 24 hours a day, leave a message on any topic that you want, something you saw around town, something I talked about on the show, something you saw while you were waiting in line at the grocery store that just didn't sit right with you. It's totally up to you. 289-599-2973. It's called the Byrd Box because the last four digits spell BYRD. I did not get to pick the number, by the way. But this first caller did exactly that, called in to comment on something I talked about in the last episode. I shared a story about how my wife and I last summer had parked in front of a business, we'll call it Business B, intending to go to Business A. We were getting our daughter out of the car, and the owner of Business B came out and asked us to move. She did not want us to park in front of her store, even though we were parked on a public street, and it was perfectly legal to park there. So this was this person's thoughts. Here, have a listen.
My first reaction is, hell no. I'm sorry, but I would not be moving my car because somebody thought I could. In actuality, if that person was being considerate, they would encourage you to park there, very well knowing that you're strapping in your child and having a young child just to make it convenient to access the store across the street.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you for the call. And of course, as the story went, I refused to move. I said, no, we'll be back in 10 minutes. And sure enough, we were. But the part that I thought, and by the way, this caller's point is totally valid, but the part that was really strange to me is I thought, man, that's a great way to chase away business from Business B. The owner's coming out telling me to leave a public spot on the street. It's a surefire way to make sure that I'll never do business with this particular business. The next call came from a familiar voice, a familiar duo, let's say. I'll play the message. They introduced themselves. Here, have a listen.
We just want to wish a happy Father's Day to the best dada in Fort Erie.
And who's that?
This is your wife's friend.
Oh.
And your daughter, Ellie. Ellie, can you say happy Father's Day? Can you say dada? Say dada. And there you have it. Happy Father's Day, babe.
That's a sweet message. Thank you for that. At my house, I'm not dad, by the way. My daughter has firmly decided that I'm baba. She's been saying mama since about 8 months. And for whatever reason, from like 9 months onward, I've been baba. And even if you say dada to her, she'll laugh in your face and then go, ha ha ha, baba. And she knows that I'm baba. So nonetheless, I appreciate that message. That was very sweet. Thank you. And the last caller here is a gentleman getting a little heated under the collar about side roads in Fort Erie. Have a listen.
In terms of when we're looking at the roads in Fort Erie, I think the biggest problem we have in all the subdivisions, any side road, they're absolutely terrible. Most of them are gravel. Wintertime, the potholes are outrageous. And then, the town comes and they just throw a little bit of asphalt in there, stamp it down with a shovel, and on they go. 9 times out of 10, they don't get snowplowed. Town's excuses, they don't have responsibility for side roads. It's just main roads. So, you look at any subdivision, you have the side roads are going to be absolutely terrible. Then you get in the yards, you get all the stones and, the upbrought asphalt pushed into the yards, and it's terrible. So that would be my one complaint.
Yeah. So, well, there's a lot to unpack there. It's just one complaint, but there was like 15 things. Starting first with the side roads, you mentioned most of the side roads are gravel. I know there are gravel side roads here. I'm not refuting that point, but most of them, I don't know if that's the case or not. Certainly what you said is true about the way potholes are packed. It's like the town comes and throws a handful of asphalt into a giant crater and, it doesn't do a whole lot in the first place, but after a week or two, most of it is washed away. But I think the thing to remember, though, is that living in Canada with the freeze and thaw, we will always have potholes. There really isn't a whole heck of a lot we can do about that. Now, one thing I will say, sort of in defense of the town, and maybe this is just my opinion, is I've lived in quite a few communities across Southern Ontario, and Fort Erie is one of the best I've lived in as far as snow removal goes. Response time, efficacy. I used to live on Jarvis Street. I live in Ridgeway now. Both areas I find are plowed pretty quickly. They're plowed pretty well. I don't have any real complaints there. Maybe what this caller was just trying to say is that the snow plows come out and tear up the roads and do lots of damage. But I think that's a bit of a reality almost everywhere across the province, across the country. I don't know that there's any communities that don't take a beating every winter when the snow plows go out. I would be curious, though, listeners, what is the absolute worst, in your opinion, what is the absolute worst road in Fort Erie? Most beaten up, most broken, most potholes, most undesirable, let's say, to drive down. Give the Byrd Box a call. Leave a message.
Have something you want to squawk about? Let the whole town know what's on your mind. Call the Byrd Box at 289-599-2973. That's 289-599-BYRD.
Okay, joining me on the phone right now, I've got Les Lakewood at Little Red Coffee. Les, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Brent. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Office is quiet. It's the end of the day. Is it the same thing with you? Are you at the coffee shop right now?
I'm at the coffee shop. Yeah, we've been closed for 2 hours, but I went and did some groceries, and I'm working on some soup and prep for a big order tomorrow. Figured I might as well get as much done while I was waiting for you to call today.
I feel like you spent your afternoon waiting around for me, and I don't know whether to feel awful or whether to feel special about that.
Well, I'll just say that I was able to plan to be productive while putting this as a flag in the evening.
That's the sign of a small business owner right there, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what's for benefit of listeners who maybe aren't familiar, what is Little Red Coffee?
Little Red Coffee is an independent coffee shop in Fort Erie. So we're down at 46 Queen Street in Fort Erie, which is by the Peace Bridge. Not a really well-known street in the area unless you perhaps live down here or work in the area, but it's mostly in the logistics kind of customs brokerage area, but we're also really close to the Niagara River. We're close to the Peace Bridge. We're close to a really scenic driving road and the recreational path. So there's lots of good reasons why we picked this location.
And now, is it a family-owned business?
It is a family-owned business. Yeah, 100%. We're celebrating our 1-year anniversary this week. It was June 4th. So this week we're really kind of like taking a moment to thank everybody who has been a part of getting the shop up and through the first milestone of a 1-year anniversary. And yeah, a lot of those people are, of course, family and friends. And my wife and I, Vanessa, and I own the business together and have been, working on creating a community space for just over a year now.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I got to ask, do you and Vanessa did you have any previous experience in something like this, running a coffee shop or something in food service? Like what led you to opening an independent coffee shop?
Well, I really like coffee, but no, I left a career in technology, which kind of, now that I've done it myself, I've heard so many similar tales where people they just want to follow their heart and do something that is meaningful after having spent, a long time. For me, it was a 20-year career in Toronto in technology, and that kind of took me away from my hometown here. And when the pandemic hit, there was a reason to be here full time. And when I was here full time, I really noticed the absence of some of the things that I really value in the communities that I got to experience up in Toronto, which is, good food and places for community to gather. So this neighborhood in particular was a little forgotten, I'll just say that, or perhaps left behind. And it's where I live. So, investing in my neighborhood, we took up a lease at the cute little coffee shop, this little red storefront that has been apparently so many different things over its time in the neighborhood. And
yeah, it has.
Into a coffee shop. What do you know about this building?
Well, it's been a whole number of different things. And I think, I was curious with the location because, you see coffee shops, big chain or otherwise, opening up on Garrison Road or Jarvis Street. Now, you made the decision to open up a coffee shop in the neighborhood, A, where you live, but B, are a lot of your customers, are they the customs brokers that are working down there? Who's kind of your typical clientele throughout the day?
I would definitely say in year one, our market research and it played true was that we worked with the customs brokers, the border agents come in, people, sometimes there's a reason that truckers need to hang out for a day, or people going over the border for different legal reasons, different paperwork reasons, different, status reasons. They have some time to spend in the area. So we get a lot of traffic that way as well. Just people kind of stuck at the border and needing a place to be. So that's been kind of interesting. Lots of fun stories and good memories with those people.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, then you grew up in Fort Erie, you moved away to Toronto, had a career there, and then said enough of that and decided to come home to Fort Erie. Do I have that right?
There's some nuance there. My wife is not from the area,
okay.
And she is. We keep an apartment in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
One foot in that city. I guess it's another home. So we didn't exactly say enough, but we're fortunate to have a really great apartment and a lease that is manageable, and we were able to keep that and buy a house down here. So yeah.
Well,
it wasn't exactly enough with Toronto, but it was we're never going to be able to have any meaningful real estate in the city, and we have family support in Fort Erie, and truly, I really love Fort Erie.
Yeah.
It's a really weird, neat, historic, cute, beautiful, strange, rough around the edges little town.
It's I always joke with people, it's too, like, I didn't get into doing a show called the Fort Erie podcast, for any other reason, right, than just saying I love the town of Fort Erie, right? It is a unique place, and especially, you may have had the benefit of being here before I was, because my wife and I moved here 9 years ago, and so people who were here long before that, they remember they think of Fort Erie, Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, and Stevensville as very separate towns. And us coming in here, we looked at it as almost like neighborhoods within the same town, which gave it that much more appeal, that it's like there's these very interesting pockets sort of all over the town. I did want to ask you about, you mentioned your 1-year anniversary at Little Red Coffee. And I think I saw that online actually this week, that you were celebrating your first anniversary there. How did the first year go, sort of expectations versus reality? I mean, you mentioned doing market research and kind of knowing who your clientele would be up front. Was there anything that surprised you in the first year that you really weren't expecting?
Oh, Brent, like everything.
Okay.
I'm just going through, living the dream with very, as I said, I worked in the food industry when I was, in college and going through, but, I did take quite some time off. I didn't really, it was really wonderful that a lot of the tools for writing, business plans, they take a very basic business as an example, and in the cases that I was able to find, they took a coffee shop. So it was really like a coffee shop is a very understandable inventory and mechanism, but with that, I'm still starting from ground zero, which meant that there was some training. So I would say that like the coffee has gone better than I was expecting, or at least as good as expecting. Sandwiches have gone way better than I had even planned for. So like with that becoming like a lunch spot, that has been really, really good. I wasn't sure how Fort Erie would react to specialty coffee, to a nice espresso machine, but I think that people know a nice espresso machine and they know a good coffee, and if they like good coffee, then they're really happy that we're here, and we get people who are pretty stoked about the espresso and latte and cappuccinos that our beautiful Italian Simonelli machine makes.
Well, can I ask, because I actually have not been to Little Red Coffee. I promise I will stop by in the near future, but what is special about your coffee? I mean, you alluded to the machines. What about the beans? I mean, what is different about the cup of coffee I'd get, say, at Little Red Coffee versus somewhere else in town?
Customer service is so important, and I think that our team, our team is really good with our customers. So the customer service is one thing that is special here. But you asked about the beans.
Yeah,
They're from Etobicoke. They're roasted at Birds and Beans. They're not from Etobicoke. They're roasted.
Sure.
They are our blends are mostly South American roasts. So what that means is that they're kind of more of a chocolatey sort of like round roast instead of the acidic sort of. There's different kind of flavor profiles, and ours falls into a more of the like kind of balanced roast. So people seem to really like the flavor of the coffee, which is the most important thing, but important for us, and I think important for other people, is where it comes from, which is from ethically sourced. They work with Birds and Beans has been a roaster for 20 years. Over 20 years, they've cultivated many co-op relationships with the farmers themselves. They go there, they work and make sure that the conditions are good for the workers, and they've gone the extra mile to work only with farmers who are certified with the Smithsonian as bird friendly, which means that the farming practices are pretty true to old farming practices. The coffee is grown in the shade, which it likes to be, instead of when it's grown in a huge monoculture that is trying to produce like huge amounts of commercial bean, where you might just rip up everything and it's only trees for miles and miles and miles.
Well, you mentioned that these sandwiches were an even bigger hit than you expected. If I'm not mistaken, you do catering as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We do catering. That's what I'm here working a little late for, because we have a nice big lunch order to take for delivery tomorrow and for a party in Ridgeway. This particular one will be doing boxed lunches, which is a sandwich and baked good with a fruit cup.
Nice.
But yeah, we do all kinds of different things. Baked goods for parties, coffee takeaway for a large group, that kind of stuff. We've got a whole catering page on our website, which is littleredcoffee.ca.
Yeah, I was going to mention your website because it's got a very detailed menu. You can place orders right on the website for pickup, it looks like. What are your regular hours for somebody who maybe doesn't want to go on the website? They just want to come in person.
Sure. So our regular hours have just been updated for the summer. So they are Monday to Friday. We open at 8 a.m. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we close a little earlier at 3:30, and Tuesday and Wednesday Thursday, Friday, we're open till 6. We are open on Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We just added Sunday.
Okay, nice. And is there anything else, before I let you go, is there anything else that you want the town of Fort Erie to know about either yourself or Little Red Coffee?
I want them to know that we want to meet them. We want to know their stories. We want to know more about their relationship with the town. We'd love to meet more small business owners. As a small business here in town, we can only learn and grow together. We've met so many other small businesses since we've been here, and that's a real joy. So yeah, just really come on down to the shop and take a look around. Our cookies are vegan. Our scones are vegan, but they don't, everyone loves them.
They still taste good, right? I'm not trying to be facetious, but I think sometimes when people hear vegan cookie, they go, they took all the flavor out of it, but it's still a good cookie, right?
Oreos are vegan. I'm just going to put that out there. Oreos are vegan.
Fun and games on the Fort Erie Podcast.
We are about to do something on the Fort Erie Podcast that has never been done before on this show. We are going to play Fort Erie Trivia. I have 2 contestants live on the phone who are about to go head to head. Let's go to Drew first. Drew, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited, and I can't wait to show off my exquisite knowledge of Fort Erie.
Oh, calm down, man. You sounded a little arrogant, all right? But you grew up in Fort Erie, right?
I did, born and raised.
You consider yourself a pretty clever guy?
No, I consider myself lucky.
Okay. Well, you're going to be facing off today against Bev. Bev, you grew up in Fort Erie, yeah?
I did, born and raised technically in Ridgeway most of the time, down in Fort Erie by the hospital for the last 6 years.
Well, okay. All right. This is going to be an interesting matchup. So we got 2 Fort Erie lifers. Here's the rules. Here's how this is going to work. You're going to take turns answering trivia questions about Fort Erie. Some of the questions are easy. Some of them are not so easy. Now, whenever I say Fort Erie, I am referring to the entire town, which includes Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, and Stevensville as well. Nobody can
Snyder.
Sure. Let's say sure. Nobody can help you answer these questions. No Googling, no cheating, no taking hours to come up with an answer. You got to think fast. You got to do this on your own. I get the final say on whether an answer is right or wrong, and whoever gets to 3 correct answers first after an equal number of turns will be our winner. You'll get $25 to Central Pizza. You'll get a Fort Erie Podcast t-shirt and a set of Buy with Brent beer koozies. And just a quick clue, at least half the answers here have been in previous episodes of the Fort Erie Podcast. So if you've been listening for the last little bit, you will have an advantage. Are you both ready?
We are. At least I am.
Okay, Bev's ready.
I'm ready.
Drew's ready. Okay, Drew, you're going to get the first question. Are you ready? Here we go. What is another name for Byrd Centennial Park?
Oh, man. Byrd Centennial. Douglas Park?
That is incorrect, sir. I'm sorry. It was Ferndale Park is another name for Byrd Centennial. Bev, over to you. Good. Bev, how many Tim Hortons drive-thrus will you find in the town of Fort Erie?
You will find.
Quick, guys. Pick up the pace. Pick up the pace. How many?
Four.
That is a correct answer. Bev is on the board. That is 1 point for Bev. All right, over to you, Drew. Let's get you on the board. What date this year will the Crystal Beach Waterfront Supper Market kick off?
I'm going to guess a Saturday. I'm going to say June 24th.
I'm sorry, sir. It is June the 29th. June the 29th is the correct answer. At least you got the month right, so that's good. Bev, over to you. What annual event is happening at Safari Niagara on June 18th?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Oh, it's okay if you don't know. Hey, at least you got a point. You're on the board. So the correct answer was the 6th annual car show for Father's Day, June 18th.
Oh, car show. Of course it's Father's Day. Oh, I should have guessed that.
Drew, over to you. What is the postal code for Crystal Beach?
Oh, LOS1NO.
I'm sorry, sir. That's Ridgeway. LOS1BO is Crystal Beach. You were close. You were close. All right. What armed conflict occurred in this area on June 2nd, 1866?
That would be the Battle of Ridgeway.
That is correct. That is 2 points for Bev. Drew, we got to get you on the board. Are you ready?
I know. I'm getting embarrassed.
Okay, well, you'll be embarrassed if you get this one wrong. What infamous annual event is taking place at the Fort Erie Racetrack on July 16th?
Part of the Queen's Plate. I go every year. I wear a hat.
I'm going to take that as the wrong answer, Drew.
Yep. Go ahead.
The Wiener Dog races happen on July 16th.
I don't wear a suit for the Wiener Dog race.
I was going to say, I don't think so. Bev, 90, you could win this right here, Bev. If you take this, you are the winner, okay? 91 years ago, Fort Erie merged with what other town?
Lincoln? No.
No, I'm sorry. The answer was Bridgeburg, 91 years ago.
Bridgeburg.
Yeah. Drew, on what road would you find the house where James L. Kraft was born?
Oh, isn't it Sodom?
It is not, sir. I'm afraid it is Bowen Road. Bowen and Winger. Bev, name one of the candidates who ran against incumbent Mayor Wayne Reddekopp in the last municipal election.
Dan Favreau.
Dan Favreau, is that what you said?
Yes.
Bev, you are the first ever winner. A clean sweep. First ever winner of Fort Erie Trivia on the Fort Erie podcast. Congratulations.
Well, I'm honored.
Hey, you should be. And Drew, thank you for playing. Better luck next time, my friend. Bev, hang on a sec here. I'm going to tell you how you can collect your prizes. And for folks listening, if you want to play, if you want to be included in an upcoming round of Fort Erie Trivia, make sure to call the Byrd Box, leave me a message, let me know you want to play 289-599-2973.
Fort Erie Real Estate with Brett Jones, your friendly local realtor with RE/MAX Niagara Realty.
I've got a hot new listing, but I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it today because it's situated in Waynfleet. You can look it up online if you want, 13041 Lakeshore Road. It's a 3-bedroom, 4-season waterfront cottage right on Lake Erie. Beautiful views, listed as $699.9. And get this, it's got an attached drive-through garage with its own private boat ramp out to Lake Erie. Very cool. You can look it up or you can call me for more information if you're interested, 905-626-8826. What I thought I would do instead with this time today is talk about the interest rate hike that was announced by the Bank of Canada on June 7th, a 1/4 point increase. And frankly, after seeing inflation increase in the month of April, I'm actually surprised it wasn't more than a 1/4 point increase. Look, let's take a little trip down memory lane. When these hikes began last year, we saw housing prices fall by as much as 27%. And I know I've talked about this very thing on this show before, but January of this year, 2023, the Bank of Canada says, hey, we're going to hold interest rates steady for the time being. Some degree of consumer confidence returned, and lo and behold, we saw housing prices start going up again by as much as 12 or 13% by May. Now the rate hikes are beginning again, and I will bet my bottom dollar that the past is going to repeat itself. The next rate announcement, July 12th, I am positive. Now, if I end up being wrong, I'll apologize, okay, on the Fort Erie podcast. But I am positive the next rate announcement is going to be another increase. And when these hikes began last year, A lot of realtors, economists, professionals of all stripes came out of the woodwork and tried to claim that, these interest rate increases were not going to hurt housing prices. In fact, by the end of 2022, we would still see home prices increase by as much as another 10 to 15%. And of course, that didn't happen. Now, this maybe is just one man's opinion, but for anyone out there who's telling you that these interest rate increases are not going to depress housing prices for the remainder of this year, those folks are not paying attention to history. They're not paying attention to economics. That's by definition what interest rate hikes are designed to do. They're designed to slow spending and cool the economy. So what does all this mean? Well, if you are a buyer, if you are thinking about buying a home this year, if you've not yet already locked in a rate, speak to a qualified mortgage agent, mortgage professional, lock in your rate, safeguard yourself against further increases. And I do predict that, with these rate hikes starting up again, we will see things in the housing market begin to slow and cool going into the summer, and it will create some opportunities for buyers. Now, if you are a seller, if you want to get your home sold, my suggestion is you get your pricing strategy right. Talk to your agent, because our data is always a month behind. So if I sit down with you today and I show you what I believe your home is worth, it's based on the data that I had available as of May, even though we're now into June. And so what that means is that if what I'm saying is correct, and I 100% believe that it is, and these interest rate hikes are going to begin driving down the price of a home, I could be telling you what your home is worth in May, but that doesn't mean it's what it's going to be worth by the time we get it on the market in July. Okay, our data is always a bit behind. So if you are looking to list soon, now, June, or the immediate future, don't wait until July to find out that you priced too high. Expect that your home will sell for less this month or next month than it might have back in March or April. And whether you are thinking of buying or selling, if you do not have an agent representing you, call me, 905-626-8826.
The Fort Erie Podcast.
Well, earlier in the show, I was talking about awful Father's Day gifts, and it reminded me of a gift I gave my dad when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, early double digits at the very least. I had maybe $10 to my name, and I went down to our local Zeller's store, and right by the entrance, they had a clearance bin of discount CDs, not a lot of bands or artists that I recognized. I assume these were all CDs nobody wanted to buy, but nonetheless, I rooted through them, and I picked out one to give to my dad on Father's Day. If you couldn't tell from that clip, yes, I gave my dad Little Richard's Greatest Hits. Happy Father's Day, Dad. You can listen to Tutti Frutti on repeat.
Community events coming up in Fort Erie.
Well, we've got a handful of events going on around town this Sunday, June 18th, to celebrate Father's Day. For starters, there's the 6th annual Father's Day car show happening at Safari Niagara. Fathers are free. I take that to mean fathers receive free admission to Safari Niagara because the actual car show is happening at the Stevensville Garden Gallery in the parking lot from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. There will be live music in Safari Niagara at one of the restaurants from 12 until 3 p.m. There's a fun zone with inflatables, a steel drum orchestra, special Father's Day barbecue. Should be a lot of fun. Now, Father's Day racing is a bit of a tradition at the Fort Erie racetrack as well, beginning at noon. It says here on the Facebook event, you can bring Dad to the races for a fun Sunday of live racing. The ponies hit the track at noon, alongside other entertainment, including food trucks and a full farmer's market. Now, if your dad is into farmers markets, don't forget that the Crystal Beach Farmers Market happens every Sunday morning from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. So you can hit up potentially 2 different markets in the same day. Hopefully they don't compete with each other too much. The other thing I was going to mention is that if your dad is into karaoke, and by the way, if he's never given you any indication that he's into karaoke, that means he's probably not, okay? But if he is, you can check out Sunday afternoon karaoke at the Fort Erie Legion from 2 until 6 p.m.
The Fort Erie Podcast.
That about sums things up for today. Thank you for listening to the Fort Erie Podcast. This was episode 56. Episode 57 will be on its way next week. Subscribe in all the usual places so you can get notified when it's released. iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to podcasts. Head on down to Little Red Coffee this week. Say hi to Les. Pop in some earbuds, get a nice cup of coffee, and maybe catch up on some past episodes of the Fort Erie podcast. Get your messages in on the Byrd Box, Fort Erie, especially if you want to play Fort Erie trivia and win some free pizza on an upcoming episode. 289-599-2973. That's 289-599-BYRD, B-Y-R-D. Squawk about anything you want. To all the dads out there, I hope you have a great Father's Day weekend. I hope nobody buys you a diffuser because no dad out there wants that. And for everybody else listening, I'll speak with you again soon.
You've been listening to the Fort Erie Podcast with your host, Brent Jones. Never miss an episode. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or visit theforteriepodcast.com.